Hey, how are ya?
This is Drow Sabrina, as she is an engineer trying to submerge into her soft girl era. First thing she decided was to focus more on her appearance and leaning into her beauty. She's already consistent with her workouts and eating habits, which have already resulted in significant weight loss. But the day-to-day looks can use a bit of spark. So how will she manage leaning into her beauty while also maintaining her discipline? So join us, her, for her first episode of her Soft Girl Era series.
Oh, you're still here. Last week was my first week doing my makeup consistently every single day before work as an engineer. I honestly at first just thought it was going to be just about makeup. And I didn't realize how much it would affect my energy, my confidence, my productivity, and just the way I show up in a general basis. And honestly, this isn't even about the makeup. This is about how to show up more intentionally in your everyday life, or how to show up differently. And that's kind of what me deciding to do my makeup every single day before work entailed. Like, okay, how does this impact me showing up? Main reason for wanting to do this is because I feel like I'm in my becoming, or like where I'm becoming my best self, and I'm trying all these different things. And if you look back at my previous videos, you see me building discipline, you see me trying to wake up early on a daily basis, work out, and even like eat more differently. And then it's like, okay, I'm showing up in all these areas. I feel like I built enough foundational discipline, and it's like, how am I going to evolve beyond that? And one way I thought about it was like, one thing I can do is dive a little deeper into my appearance, because if initially I was focused on discipline, waking up early, meal prepping, working out, and even I think in a previous video I mentioned I wasn't even worried about looking good. Like,
I'm just learning to be like, okay, you don't need all these extra things to look the part, or you don't need all these extra things to, keep up with. It's okay to have those quieter seasons where everything's not glamorous. Literally,
I was not worried about my physical appearance. But now as I'm getting all of these routines in place, and as I feel more structured in my day-to-day life, now I can start adding in other areas. And elevating your appearance looks different for everybody. For some people it can be doing their nails, or maybe having a different hairstyle, or just wearing different clothes. And I think for me, something seamless, being that I do work in a manufacturing site, was okay, let me try doing my makeup. And that was just a simple way to add something there, because once I've already proved to myself that I could be disciplined, now it's like, can I lean into my femininity a little more? Can I lean into how I'm presenting myself a little more? And that was the biggest thing I got out of this. So let's talk about how it went. So day one, it was a Monday, and I was like, I am determined to get up early. I think that day I need to start the week off right, because if I don't, then I'm not going to follow through for the rest of the week. And I was like, I need to do this. My trip is on Friday. So how do I get used to elevating my appearance? How do I get used to doing this on a consistent basis? So the one thing I can say is this challenges you to learn how to do your makeup. Like, because I don't know how this is going to turn out, but knowing I'm going to have to go around my coworkers, people I'm already comfortable with, it's gonna force me to get it together, do it look even. Eyebrows is another struggle for me, because it's like I cannot get them even. So that's one thing I point forward to getting better at, because y'all, I got these, but what's the difference between the powder and the, maybe I should be using this first. Got it. My bad. I hope this is gonna look good throughout the day. I don't know how it's gonna come off. And in the first day after coming to work, dressed up or with my makeup done, I was getting a lot of comments like, oh, you look like you're going out for an interview, or what did you have going on today that you look like this, or they was like, your man taking you out for lunch, and it was like, it was none of that. It was just me showing up differently. And then I did it again for the second day. And for day two, I remember it being a little more daunting. Well, one, because I was recording, and even with vlogging anything, especially when you have a repetitive daily task, sometimes vlogging gets a little redundant. So that's kind of how I felt day two. Right, I just did this yesterday. I don't feel like recording it, but I still did, which you can see here. Okay, so we have a busy morning planned ahead. You cannot rush eyebrows if you don't know how to do eyebrows, because feel like I find myself in the same predicament every single time. Now I'm realizing, how did yesterday go? What changes can I make with my makeup routine? And it's just more so experimenting, but I still felt good at the end of it. And even going into that day, it was just like, I'm stepping into this a little more comfortably. And then for Wednesday that week, I did unfortunately call out sick that week because I was not feeling good Wednesday. And then came Thursday, it felt less intimidating. My goal is to find a go-to 10-minute routine. And then another thing I've been struggling on is my eyebrows. I don't know if y'all can see them, but I think today I got them the most close as they can be. I didn't do too much. I'm not filling them in. I don't care that much. Hold on. I'll fill it in a little bit just because y'all asked. Talking about, because I'm one of a kind, I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all while I'm in my prime. Oh gosh. And then I knew kind of what I wanted my makeup look to look like and kind of how to maneuver through it faster. And every day I spent almost 30 minutes, maybe last day I spent 20 minutes, but even then I've been keeping a good chunk of time. And the goal is to really get it to where I'm only doing it for 10 minutes because who got time for that? But yeah, so it's just been a learning curve. And then also then Friday I had my trip to Guatemala. So it was a great experience, and I even carried that on to this week, which I'm recording now, just to give the summary about it. But one thing I learned in the process was that repetition creates confidence, and I already knew that from working out consistently or eating a certain way consistently. It definitely builds confidence. So being able to do my makeup every day and show up in that area for myself and improving upon my appearance, that also was I feel great in this area. And the biggest part of it is I think it was very interesting realizing that people automatically assumed that I was getting ready for something or doing something. Of course, it was a different look than I usually would, but even for people who didn't know me, they would question it too, oh, where are you going? What do you have to do? Or who are you kind of questions. And when they're assuming all that, it was just really me just wanting to put a little more effort into how I show up and how I show up to the world. And regardless of what we say, your appearance does influence how people perceive you. And not saying that I felt like my look before was bad or that someone was gonna look at me as less than, or it's tied directly to my value, but people don't know anything about you prior, and it does leave the space for people to judge. And that's not necessarily fair, but those things are real whether we want to acknowledge it or not. People respond to energy and presentation most before you say anything. So that's kind of what I gathered from putting effort into my look. So I think the biggest internal change from doing this on a daily basis, one, it builds momentum. If I'm able to get up in the morning, go to the gym, do my makeup, and now face the world, it changes how I show up personally. I realized that I was more motivated to record videos every day. I was more motivated to show up with confidence in meetings, and also just feeling more put together overall. I realized when I show up for myself completely for the morning, it made it easier for me to show up for myself all the way throughout the day. And that is one thing that no one could really take away from you, especially when you pour into yourself first. And I don't know. And even going into this week and doing it, it was all right, this is something I have to do. This is something I feel like I need to do before I go to work. And now that I'm embedding it more and more to my routine, I feel like in different areas of my life. And even with morning routines in general, when you're intentional with how you start your day, you're more bound to start being a little more intentional on how the rest of your day goes. How do you interact with people throughout the day? How are you showing up for yourself? How are you accomplishing your goals? And that was the most exciting thing that I enjoyed from this experiment. And I think for a while, discipline looked very rough around the edges. It just looked like it had to be straight rebuilding, getting back on track, surviving. And now I'm learning now that discipline could also look soft and intentional. It doesn't have to be go, go, go 100% all the time. But it can also look like, okay, me taking time for myself to show up differently. And even with this, just waking up a little more early and prioritizing what I want to do throughout the day, it feels good. But overall, this week showed me that Showing up for yourself internally and genuinely will affect how you show up externally to everyone else and how you're perceived as you maneuver through the day, and then also it affects how you perform throughout the day. So this is just only the beginning of the woman I'm trying to grow into, and I'm very excited to meet her as the year goes on. Comment something that you plan on doing to pour into yourself or just improve upon as you're going through your journey. And another reason I did this too was because also I work in a manufacturing plant, so we're wearing hard hats, safety glasses, steel toe shoes, and it was like, what can I do to help elevate my look, or what can I do to actually pour into myself a little bit more? And makeup was one way to do it for me, but it doesn't have to be makeup. It could be something different for you that can look like doing something different with your clothes, doing something different with your hair, maybe doing your nails, doing your lashes, whatever it may be, or just even having a better skincare routine to where you're just glowing all day. There's different ways to go about elevating your appearance, but those are just some things I added into my day-to-day routine. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye.